Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing representing Team King of Games. And today I would like to actually go over the top 10 decks of the current format and meta. A lot of people have asked for my opinion on this. And it's kind of like, it's more of a creative format now. I honestly believe that this format, for the time being until the next big thing comes out, is totally depicted on your skill. Basically your skill and also your playstyle. Of course, there are a couple decks that have shined in the past that have now gotten their chance to shine once again because Zodiacs really did prevent a lot of the potential for a lot of these decks to be able to be utilized. So there are decks that are able to be played now at full power because Zodiacs are out of the picture and because Dryden is gone. So it's more of a healthy format. It's a lot more balanced. And it's more fun now. You know, creative decks and rogue decks have their chance to shine just until that one deck that's just gonna overshadow everything appears again. So before we get into the top 10 list, we're gonna go on some honorable mentions. Now, before we get into the honorable mentions, I can't honorable mention literally every single deck that everyone feels like, you know, could have a chance. I'm just gonna cover as many as I can, and if I miss any, I'm sorry, but you can go ahead and drop it in the comment sections and be like, this deck is great too, and you know, that's basically gonna be your input, so we'll put it that way. So honorable mentions, we'll have Cosmos. Cosmos are not on my top 10 list. Cosmos are a great deck. I'm not saying that they're bad, but what I am saying is it's a very, very hyped thing. Cosmos topped at one event, and just because Cosmos got a chance to top at an event where, you know, the dude that actually topped at the event knew what he was doing, and I admit his build is great, but just because Cosmos topped at one event, that does not make them a contender in this meta and format. A deck that makes this top 10 list has to have proven itself not only in the past, but prove itself continually and consistently throughout this format. No, Cosmos are not topping all over the place. There was one Cosmo build by Asian Persuasion that topped at a regionals. That does not make Cosmos the best deck. That's just a hype. We're not doing hypes. So Cosmos make the honorable mentions. Mermails make honorable mentions. Dark Synchro, even in Link format, Dark Synchro makes honorable mention. True King variants, Herald of Perfection, of course, makes honorable mentions. Zombie builds like Lightsworn Zombies. We're not putting Lightsworns in honorable mentions, but we are putting Zombies themselves in honorable mention. Vindrab being the most popular one. And of course, Yang Zing builds. Yang Zings make the honorable mentions, and anything else that I missed. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start into the top 10 list. So making number 10 is actually Chainburn. Chainburn has seen quite a dominant presence in the current format, especially in the area that I'm in. I've been seeing a lot. So we're kind of going off of facts, and we're also going off of representation. So Chainburn kind of is a thing right now. Apparently Chainburn is really a thing. That makes number 10. There's not much to explain Chainburn. In a sense, it's a deck that's really, really trolly. Doesn't really focus heavily on monsters. It's not like an extremely combo-centric deck. It's just a deck where you have to pay attention to the chain links. It really is. Because if your opponent plays cards in his own chain links on his turn, for example, multiple spell speed 1 effects going off, like, okay, I resolve this as chain link 1, chain link 2, chain link 3. In Chainburn, that's really dangerous. You could be killing yourself. It's just a deck that can literally burn you to death. It has great recovery. It doesn't really focus on field presence. It's just a deck that can kill you without ever summoning a monster, honestly. Chainburn's just a great deck. Cards like Chain Strike, I think really one of the best cards that the deck can play, which is kind of underrated, is Blazing Mirror Force. And also Ring of Destruction. Decks that kind of clear cards and at the same time still fit the playstyle of the deck. I mean, it can use Demise, which is something that you want to play after you do the damage. It's just a really, really great deck. Like, honestly, Chainburn is really strong. And then, of course, we're going to move forward. And in number 9, now, this is something that people might think is kind of strange. Why is this in the number 9 spot? World Chalice is actually in the number 9 spot right now for the list. World Chalice is really, really powerful, and it has proven itself, but it has not proven itself enough. World Chalice is not topping all over the place. It's just a meta contending deck because it's a powerful deck. It did get a boost from the ban list. You know, Rescue Rabbit did come to 3, so the deck has a bit more playability, and it's got a power boost, but it's not able to contend with everything that's higher on this list as strong as, you know, the other cards, as strong as the other decks on this list can. But World Chalice definitely has proven itself. It may in the future bump up from number 9, and remember that this is, the representation is the facts, but the list itself and the placing is actually not a fact. Like, I can't really say what's the best deck, and you know, that's gonna be totally like an opinion and at the same time a fact, because a lot of people think this deck's the best, a lot of people think this deck's the best. What I'm going off of is what I have seen with my own eyes, and also the facts and representation, like I said, of what's being played the most. World Chalice is not being played that much, but it's still having a very, very small representation on the pie chart. So World Chalice hits number 9. Of course, it floods the field. It's one of the best link decks. It quite abuses the link mechanic. Oh, now you want it. I told you was going to want it. You're lucky I didn't eat all of it, because I was going to eat all of it. You're lucky. I love you too. Still save me some because I like it. And I really only took a couple bites. And World Chalice makes number 9. Now moving forward to our number 8 spot. This might seem quite strange, but number 8 actually goes to the Trick Stars. Trick Stars would have been higher on the list, but they were definitely not only a hype deck, but they also have some extreme consistency issues with the Droll and Lock combo. They have to Droll Lockbird, they have to have it in their hand, and they have to have 2 to 3 ways to force you to draw. Aside from that, it's just really just another chain burn deck. It is a good deck. It's partially skilled and it's really, really powerful. It tops a lot. Like, Trick Stars have been topping, but basically every other deck on this list, Trick Stars have a very, very weak matchup against. And not only that, Trick Star is not very good if it goes second. It's really not a going second deck. So it's not only on the number 8 list because it hasn't been able to deal with all these other threats that are higher on the list, but also because it is a dice roll deck. It really is. Trick Stars, if you want to play a good competitive Trick Star deck, you know, you're really going to have to run a lot of hand traps because the deck is really, really, really weak going second. It can't really out-establish boards. It has no board wipes really, except for maybe if you want to main deck Dark Hole and Raigeki and play Blazing Mirror Forces. The deck doesn't really do too well against boss monsters like Masterpiece and Crystal Wing and ABC Buster Dragon and what's another good one? I mean, the Spirals, what's his name? The Spiral Sleeper. I mean, the Magician Trap Time, Time Pendulum Graph. Trick Stars just don't really have a good matchup against boss monsters. I'm not lying to you. Like, they just really can't do much. I mean, Honest helps them out to attack over things, but Trick Stars do very, very bad and horribly against not only established boards, but they're also weak to cards like Heavy Storm Duster, Twin Twisters, Dinko Seika. They're weak to back row hate. They really are, because the back row is where the deck gets a lot of its power from. Trick Stars take number 8. Now, this number 7 spot, which is actually similar to what Trick Stars do, Paleozoics take number 7 on this list. Paleozoics, actually, I really wanted to put them higher in the spot because I love how they are and they're so strong. The grind game mechanic, every trap that's played, whether it's mine or yours, we get advantage off of it. They can play all the draw power they want. They can incorporate the spellbook engine. They have Miss Starboy now. They've really, really hyped up. Like, Paleos are really, really hyped up, and they are a really, really strong deck. The unfortunate thing is their weakness is a vast majority of their deck is traps. Not only are they susceptible to Denko Seika, Twin Twisters, Heavy Storm Duster, they're also losing to Royal Decree, and they lose to the True Draco back rows, and also a Masterpiece that's unaffected by traps and monsters. If they don't draw one of the 2 board wipes that they will be main decking, which is Dark Hole and Raigeki, there's not very much they can do. They have to play around the Masterpiece. They have to find a way to out the diagram and at the same time attack over the Masterpiece, which costs a lot of resources. They don't really have a good matchup against that, and unfortunately, because Dracos are so strong, Paleos are just going to stay in the number 7 spot for a while. I mean, Trick Stars and Paleos kind of go back and forth, but overall, Paleos do have the advantage over Trick Stars because they have a stronger grind game. They have access to Totally Awesome. They actually are able to link summon quite a bit. They can make Firewall Dragon. They have access to that. Their utility is rank 2 spamming. It's like a rank 2 toolbox. Of course, you know, I mean, honestly, Totally Awesome can recycle any water monster. You can recycle your Kaijus. You can recycle your Blue Boys. It's just really, really strong. Paleos can also take advantage of the water barrier statue. Paleos definitely take number 7 in this slot. They're just such a great deck. It's really, really hard to kill them going into time against Threatening Roar and Wabaku. It's just really, really strong. Paleos are insane. And they're that deck that really gets the ABC treatment where it's like, they're good, and then people stop playing them, and then people start playing them again when they see a lot of other people playing it. It's just kind of that deck that's always going to be good, and it's going to go in and out of the meta, similar to how Mermails are. Mermails are always good, but it's like certain metas where they just jump into the top 10 spot and they kind of creep right back out. So Paleos take number 7. Now moving forward to number 6. Number 6 is actually going to be the Wind Witch Invoked archetype. Now Wind Witch Invokes are really strong. Really strong. The Wind Witch Invoked Artifact deck was one of the best decks because it was basically the hard counter to Zodiacs when they first came out. Now, Wind Witch Invoked Artifacts have a power boost in the form of the Spellbook engine. They also have, Pot of Desires. They have, the new draw power with the Spellbook engine. They can incorporate the Artifact engine, which increases their ceilings because every deck that's not Trickstars is basically going to be summoning from the extra deck in one way, shape, or form, which can really harm them. Even the Draco, every single Draco variant has some form of extra deck mechanic incorporated into its playstyle to increase the ceiling. So just the fact that Wind Witch Invokes can also play artifacts, and they can play a lot of traps if they want to, because really they're focusing on summoning 1 to 2 boss monsters, really 1 boss monster a turn in a gradual state. They can play all the back row they want to protect that boss monster and prevent you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! D-Barrier, Artifact Sanctum, Strikes, the best traps right now. Wind Witch Invoked is really strong. I would say Wind Witch Invoked Spellbooks, because more than likely you're going to play Spellbooks, so we'll just call that deck. Basically, in the number 6 slot is Wind Witch Invokes Spellbooks. We can say artifacts as well. They're just really strong. Crystal Wing is a thing. After the Crystal Wing leaves, they have all the Invoke Fusions coming right behind it. They have the artifacts to back it up if need be, so the deck is really powerful. I like it a lot. It's really strong, and it has proven itself. Indeed, it has. Now, moving forward to the number 5 slot, this is going to be kind of funny, but it's actually going to be Lightsworns. Lightsworns are taking the number 5 spot. Lightsworns have proven themselves over and over. It's a deck that's literally have a 10-year plus run. It's a really old deck that keeps getting power boosts. Now with all of their spells at 3, nothing's limited at the deck. It's just at full power. Lightsworns, I really would say Twilight Sworns, and we can say any Lightsworn variant, zombie variant included. Lightsworns are just really strong. Although they are a luck-based deck, the fact that they have all their cards at 3 and full power and so many ways to mill now, even though it's a chance, they have so many ways to mill. Like they're like a Saki deck that happens to work. It's like partially skill and partially luck. Unfortunately, Lightsworns are good. I've played Lightsworns myself. I've seen what they can do. Their potential first turn, just opening with the Predaplant engine is just stupid. Lightsworns are insane. Lightsworns topped at the OTS at DNA just today, which I wasn't there, I was working, but Lightsworns made it, man. I mean, they're just one of those decks that you really have to be on the lookout for. Like, they're just really powerful, and they'll steal games from you if you do not pay attention and be careful to what they're doing, because they have a lot of resources. And even if they have no hand, they can play from the grave. It's insane. Of course, Snow is like one of the MVPs of the deck. They have all the Twilight Sworn support. Lightsworns definitely take that slot. Moving forward, we have, basically, this is going to be insane right here, because the funny thing is a lot of people are going to have kind of like a hate slash, why are you putting this in this slot? ABCs take the next. ABCs, I've been seeing them cutting up, and although I don't really like the deck because it is a quite simple deck in what it does, ABCs just, unfortunately, they really are that powerful. They're a really strong deck. And really, ABC Draco is a great way. It's a great techie variant, but pure ABCs themselves do what they do, and they do it really good. It's not the sense that Buster can, banish a card on the field. It's that the deck makes him consistently, and once you tag out with Buster, you either get a free decode, you get a free rank 4 play. Like, you get Buster and more, basically, once the first tag out happens. It's a really strong deck. It's basically like a link mechanic. It's like a link engine that happens to spam rank 4s in addition to the Buster. ABC Draco is like the best variant to me. I've seen what it can do. It's really strong. ABCs take the next slot. I mean, Buster's just insane, and even if the deck doesn't have Buster, you forget that the Union monsters can make any monster that they equip to that is the proper, which is a light machine, immune to spells, traps, or monsters. That's the similarity to making a masterpiece. They can make a Buster immune to traps in the Paleo matchup, the Trickstar matchup, immune to spells in the Magician matchup, or even immune to spells, traps, and monsters. They can do that. ABCs are insane. Now in the next slot, we are actually putting spirals. Now spirals, even without their Link Monster Helix, that's pretty much all they're missing. Spirals are insane. They actually are really, really powerful. They're dominating right now, not only in the OCG, but they're dominating in the TCG. At the last event I went to, spirals had the highest representation. It was insane. Spirals are just ridiculous. I've seen what they can do. They can recover off of one card. They have protection with the field spell Spiral Resort, preventing from all their cards being targeted. And then their equip spells, their equip the Last Resort, and then the equip spell itself. I mean, those cards are protected from being targeted, so it's really hard to pick apart their board because now they have monsters that cannot be targeted or destroyed by battle or card effects. But in addition to that, the cards that are making sure that they can't be targeted or destroyed, they can't be targeted themselves. It's like really hard to pick their boards apart. In addition to you having a hard time breaking the boards they make the boards with ease. And once they get Helix, the boards are going to be completely free. So it's like, good luck with that. Have a good time with that. Sleeper, I mean, he's just an insane card. Super Agent can get boosted to insane heights. You can just make him extremely protected. And the deck is just really, really nutty in the sense that it doesn't always even need an extra deck. It's just really, really strong. Spirals are insane. And it's not really a hype. They've already proven themselves without the Helix. Spirals are just ridiculous. When they get Helix, they're going to skyrocket as far as their potential goes. Now, next, we actually have Pendulum Magicians. I'm sorry, guys. Pendulum Magicians are just really, really good. They're so powerful. They're topping everywhere. They are topping everywhere. They're seeing basically a predominant uprising as far as representation goes. Remember that this top 10 list goes as far as representation and also in proof and facts and what's actually topping. Now, Magicians basically have, you can say 40% of representation in this format. Pendulum Magicians are just all over the place, bro. I'm sorry, but they really are. They're just really, really strong. The grind game mechanic, the fact that they can out whether it's a monster, they can out with monster effects, they can out with spells effects, and they can out with their trap, which means that they can out Masterpiece no matter what. They have a great Draco matchup, and Draco actually happens to be insane, which if you didn't know, of course, that's coming next, Dracos. But Magicians have a great True Draco matchup. They actually have a really, really great matchup against everything except Dimensional Barrier. And Dimensional Barrier is not a deck. They just are really, really strong. Magicians do not have a weak matchup. Of course, every single deck has a weakness to Ash Blossom and basically Cherry Blossom, you know, Ash Blossom, which she's a generic hand trap. Every deck has a weakness to Maxi. Every deck particularly has a weakness to Joel and Lockbird. So keep in mind that no matter how powerful a deck is, it can be shut down by hand traps. We can say hand traps are the best decks, honestly, but Pendulum Magicians are ridiculously powerful. Not only do they have a grind game mechanic, they also have the search ability for every card they need. Every hand opens up with a way to get to whatever they need. They basically can spam, they can link summon, they can XYZ, they can synchro, they can fuse, they can pendulum summon. They just do so much. They can they can just establish boards. They break and pick apart everything you have. And the fact that their resources can come back from the extra deck and Oath Dragon can add them to hand. This deck is one of the most difficult decks to deal with. I know because I've dueled them myself and I've seen what they can do, and they have topped all over the place. Pendulum Magicians. And if you didn't know, unfortunately, Dracos are still the best deck of the format. The fact that Diagram is still at 3, Masterpiece is still at 3, True Draco Heritage is not hit, Disciples is not hit. The only thing we really lost was Return and Knuckles, and people have been finding ways to suffice without the cards. Now, when I say Dracos, I mean Draco variants like Wind Witch Dracos, Invoke Dracos. Draco Monarchs is really, really strong. The fact is you can Draco anything. You really can. You just have to know what you're doing. Any deck that has its own continuous spells and traps, unfortunately, can run Dracos. You can run Draco Magicians. You can run Draco ABCs. You can run Draco World Chalice. You can find a way to make it work. You can run Draco Spiral if you run more of the Spiral Mission, the continuous trap card. It's just an unfortunate thing that Dracos are splashable. They're not only a deck, but they act as an engine. So when I say Dracos, I mean every single Draco variant. Dracos, unfortunately, are the best deck. It's not only because they have the application of Masterpiece and splashing it into any deck. It's the fact that the traps and the spells out whatever you want. And also because the deck can roll with the punches, and even if you can out Masterpiece, it slaps another Masterpiece on the board. And with the Invoked engine, Mecha Button Masterpiece, think of this, Mecha Button Masterpiece, or even Crystal Wing with Masterpiece. The Draco Monarch build focuses on domain, and the Monarchs erupt just to lock you out from your extra deck and lock you out from your monster effects. If you can't access your extra deck and you can't access your monster effects, it's going to be really, really hard outing that Masterpiece. So Draco variants, unfortunately, are just going to be the best deck. It's just like Draco Invoked has seen the most popular playability, and it's also topped numerous events. Draco Invoked has a very, very high representation on the pie chart. It's just very unfortunate to say that Dracos are still the best deck. Now, in the past, before the September 18th ban list, Zodiacs and Draco were right next to each other. It was really hard to say which was the best. Me personally, I side with Zodiacs are the best. They really were the best. They had an edge over Draco simply because they had the one card combo. In grind game situations, drawing one card can win you the game if you're playing Zodiacs. Unfortunately, with Dracos, we didn't have that. But now with Draco Invoke being a thing, they do have a one-card engine in the form of Alistair, whether it's Alistair, Terraforming, Meltdown, Invocation. It's just really, really strong. Not only because it can disrupt your opponent by banishing their rodent totems, banishing their very, very important monsters from their graveyard, it's the fact that the engine itself is free. When you think of it, normal summon Alistair, play Invocation, banish your opponent's monster, banish your Alistair, add Alistair back to hand. You played one card to make one fusion, and that one card replaced itself, so you still have 5 cards in hand. It's an absolutely free Mechaba, which means it's a free thorn in your opponent's side. Think of it as a 1-card Trident. It's not the same as Trident, but it's disruption nonetheless. Unfortunately, Dracos are still the best deck. They are. It's just like the proof is in the pudding. I mean, there are certain decks that can out Masterpiece, but the thing is you have to play around him, you have to work around him, and if Masterpiece goes away, he's not the only thing that you have to deal with. Draco Apocalypse is insane. So we can basically talk all day about the best deck, but there you have it. Dracos are still the best deck, unfortunately. And basically what we're looking at for this format is Spirals, Dracos, Paleos, Chainburn, Magicians, ABCs, Lightsworns, Trickstars, World Chalice, and Wind Witch Invokes. Those are the top 10 decks currently, not basically in my personal opinion, but based off the research that I have dug and got, and also based off of the representation of the pie graph, of the pie chart, and also due to what's been topping, what I have seen and noticed, and what I have played against, and basically what we're gonna see until Circuit Breakers and the next best thing comes out. But for right now, I think no matter what, as long as Diagram is here and as long as Masterpiece is here, Dracos are always going to be a contender. It's unfortunate but true. No matter what format, no matter what next big thing, no matter what the next big thing is coming out in Circuit Breakers, it still has to deal with Dracos. The fact that Konami kept Dracos in the picture, I'm kind of happy they did, because there were a lot of people that really wanted to keep playing Dracos because they've only been out since May. But the fact is, no matter what next big thing comes out, we still have to see how it does against true Dracos. And even Spirals themselves, they're impressive, but in this format, because Dracos exist, every deck that comes out is going to have to deal with Dracos. So you can't really say what's the best deck until we see how it combats Dracos, which right now, Pendulum Magicians have the best Draco matchup. That's an opinion and also a fact. It's like, it's an oxymoron. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Be sure to show some love to my team, because we are definitely trying to push for higher heights. We're trying to up our subscriber count. And I definitely think that you guys can share this video with your friends and, you know, share your honest opinion and feedback on what you think of this list. This is the current top 10 best decks of the format. This is some food for thought. Just keep this in mind moving forward into YCS Dallas, which is coming up very soon. Be sure that you need to be on the lookout and prepare for these 10 decks. And also the honorable mentions, just be ready for that. You might see a Cosmo player. You might see a Mermaid player. You may see me playing Herald of Perfection. Just be ready for that. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. And this is 3 Stacks, the leader of Team King of Games, signing out. Peace.